Welcome back to this ministry in the wilderness. The gospel reading today is one of my favorites. In it, Jesus again compares the kingdom of heaven to a parable. In this case, the parable of a king giving a banquet for his son. A reading from Matthew, chapter 22, verses 1 through 14. Once more, Jesus spoke to the people in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they would not come. Again, he sent other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, look, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they made light of it and went away, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his slaves, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but the invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet.' Those slaves went out in the streets and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. When the king came to see the guests, he noticed a man who was not wearing a wedding robe and said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding robe?' And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'" Now, what do you think the kingdom of heaven is like? Is it a pearly gated community on a different plane of existence? In the clouds? Is it a fantastic place where everything and every wish comes true? What it is depends a great deal upon your culture. Some see a happy hunting grounds, or some see a banquet hall. Some see a place of joy and exaltation. Jesus today uses the wedding feast as a parable, albeit a wedding feast not for you and me, but a wedding feast for a king. And kings, remember though, are a human invention. The descendants of Abraham didn't have them for most of their history. They adopted them when others in neighboring regions had them. And purportedly, they did that against Jehovah's warnings. Now, wedding feasts in Jesus' times were a multi-day affair. And as such, people needed to be able to come and go. Now, when I was growing up, and I went to the amusement park, they would stamp our hands with ink to identify that we had paid the fee for the entrance. Clubs today do the same. Having to go home and sleep and then coming back to a particular place where you had already paid. How would people know in Jesus' times if you had been invited to the banquet? Well, they would give you a mantle or a robe so that they could tell. The mantle, the wedding robe in this particular version of the story, was proof you belonged. So in this context, the King of Heaven is celebrating and invites those he knew, these people who called the King of Heaven friend, and friend of the king was a social rank in those days, like the Son of God was a rank. They were more important than the common people, and the king had invited them. While the important people, the people who mattered in society, were too busy or were cruel to the king's servants. So the king sent his troops to punish them. Then he opened his home to anyone, good or bad, or should I say good and bad, to join the feast. But one in our story refused to put on the mantle or robe offered by the king, and he was cast out. So, heaven is like a place where you are welcome, good or bad, as long as you accept the gift of God, the wedding robe. forgiveness, love. People who merely profess friendship, who expect to be treated above others, who are cruel to the servants of the king, are shut out. Life is the kingdom of heaven. Look around at the miracle of existence. Tell me there is a palace that is more beautiful and full of life than nature. If you're not into wild things, how about the beauty of a city at night? Or the wonder of a library? Or the roll of a mighty river? And on occasion the bridge which spans it. Life brings and builds on love. And love springs from creation. Now, pain does too. Sorrow does too. Good and bad, it is all part of existence and part of the kingdom of heaven. All are invited to partake in life. And when you are called to become conscious of the divine, to share not only in the miracle of life, but of that which creates life, and to stay, you merely need to accept the love that is offered. Do this life thing for yourself only, become too busy for heaven, or to spoil it when you come across it, and you will not enjoy it. You, in essence, are binding yourself to an existence where there is not enough. An existence which God or the divine is not present. The darkness being a metaphor for not dwelling in the light of love. Not that darkness is evil or bad, it is ignorance, misunderstanding, fear that causes greed and all the guiding principles which keep us from loving one another. I love this passage in the Gospels because it tells me that good or bad, I am called to the presence of the force which is creation, of the divine purpose which is love. Good or bad, I am called to that. All I need to do is accept the gift that is given and share that love and creative force with others who are also invited to the feast. And that's everyone, no matter their rank. We have all been invited. The feast is here and now. The garden party is life itself, hosted by the one many call God. To know God and then refuse that knowledge, or to keep it from others, to keep it in their own way, not mine or yours, but keep it, is to remove or not take up the mantle that has been given. When I look at this world and see so many with so much, refuse to share with those beneath them in status and wealth, the friends of the king, to share in freedom and peace, I see people who are closing off their hearts and minds to the truth of existence. That all of our known and unknown lives have been planted right here, right now, on this beautiful garden planet, in a perfect place around our sun. When I see that, where we exist is primed for life, and despite several catastrophes, life rebounds again and again. And if we create another catastrophe on our own, we may be cast out into the darkness. Life need not have us in it to continue. If we are so selfish as to think that we don't have to wear the mantle of love, we will find ourselves outside looking in. outside of life looking in. And that day, and on that day, there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Why didn't you tell us? We have been shown, yet we hang on to our selfishness, to our own detriment. We've been called to the banquet whose sole entry fee is love. Good or bad, just love. Be worthy. Accept life, here and now, for the sake of the one who laid this banquet before us. Amen. Now, as usual, if you found this homily beneficial, make sure to like and subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below. I pray that this endeavor will be meaningful to you and that you will share your journey with others. We may exist in the wilderness, but we are not alone here, rest assured. Leave a comment if you want and come on back to this journey in the wilderness. I remain yours in faith. Until next time, blessings to you all.